Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to watch this video for some additional TELPAS tips and tricks. I really made this because I wanted to, elaborate on a lot of the things of yesterday's training, but since we were, really short on time, I thought that you guys would enjoy this video and hopefully benefit from knowing some of the additional information. So these handouts were included. I copied part of the TELPAS manual, and they were included in your green folder yesterday at the training. So if you want to grab those really quick, and we will start on page 18. Okay, so hopefully you've grabbed your TELPAS manual pages, and you'll also need a highlighter in order to go through this little activity. So starting on page 18, some important things to remember is that you'll need to include at least 5 writing samples, and one of those will need to be used in the past tense, and then at least 2 of them will need to include an academic sample from math, science, and or social studies. So one thing that I created, and I'm going to make this video bigger so you guys can see, is a writing sample checklist with sticky notes. And so you can put these on the sheet protector for each one of the students and then be able to check off as they've completed each one. If you would like these for your students, I've already made them and be happy to provide you with the correct number for your kiddos. So just email me or let me know if you would like those for your kiddos and kind of help with the organization. So our writing sample window opens on February 11th, which is Monday. And so I've been doing, some of those mini lessons with our ESL students to kind of prepare them, let them know what's going to be happening, coaching them, writing goals based on their last year's TELPAS scores. And I'm going to finish those lessons up tomorrow so that the kids will also be 100% ready for their TELPAS. Some other things to keep in mind is that all of the samples need to include the student's name and date. That's their full first and last name, their legal government name, not any nicknames allowed on these writing samples. And then going to the next page, this paragraph here has a lot of really great information, but basically it's talking about the writing prompts that you're going to be giving the students. And it's really important that this is a time that we are able to differentiate. We want to be providing writing prompts to students that are not too linguistically complex, for students who maybe are at a lower proficiency level. For some of our beginners that may need a different type of prompt than our more advanced. At the same time, you want to be sure that you're not giving them too easy a prompt either, because if they're already at the advanced level, then we're going to want a prompt that's going to stimulate some really academically complex writing in order to solicit the type of writing that we're expecting in order to rate them accurately in those domains. So just keeping that in mind, it's okay to differentiate your writing prompts for your newcomers versus your more advanced ELs. And then below that are some examples of some different writing prompts. So these would be your basic writing on a personal or familiar topic. And then the next type of example is, again, about a familiar process. So some of these may be, more appropriate for our newcomers, like writing about their daily routine, or just preparing a simple sandwich recipe, something that, they may be able to just write a list of words if that is all that they're able to do at this time in English. And then on the next page, it gives you more examples. These are, again, this is one that is required. The past tense is required. So here's some that you can have them write about, some different types of examples. And I would also recommend, getting together with your team, your teacher on your team that teaches the same subject as you, and kind of deciding together maybe which writing topics you guys are going to choose, and making sure that we're, on the same page as our team is as well. And then this type 4 here is like personal narrative, reflective pieces. This is definitely going to, bring out the more complex verb tense structures and allow some of our more advanced students to show their advanced high. So again, those are a lot of different writing prompts. These would be some language arts writing prompts. On the next page, you have your science, math, and social studies writing prompts. Again, these are all different. Some are more complex than others, but just remembering to keep in mind, the level of your students' writing. Another thing to make sure of is that you're really encouraging students to take their time and use as much detail as they can. Some students will obviously be done with this writing assignment in 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Some students may need several days to come back to that writing and revise it and edit it themselves. And moving on to the next page, speaking of revising and editing, what cannot be included in the collection is papers that have shown the teacher corrections. Now, although the teachers are not allowed to correct it, it says right here that students may revise their writing as long as the revisions are their own. So to me, that's saying, okay, we should be encouraging them to go back and read it again and even read it out loud. And here recently, I've asked some students to rewrite some of their TELPAS writing samples from last year, just showing, how much progress they've made. And when they said, oh, I'm done, I said, okay, great. Did you read that to yourself? And they said, yeah. And then I said, okay, now read it to me. And as they would read it, they would start to find their mistakes. So I would even, if you have the time, encourage them to read it out loud to you. And, after they realize, oh, I need to fix this. Oh, I need to fix this. At that point, I'm saying to them, okay, how about you go back to your seat and you read it out loud to yourself and see what else you can fix before, you turn it in. So highly, highly encourage them to go back and find their own mistakes. Some other important things to remember again with the timing. I know that we have a deadline that we're in for collecting the writing samples, but at the same time, we can't have anything that is looking rushed or that is brief, especially if we know that that student is capable of doing more. I'm pretty familiar with most of the ELs here at Town Center, so in my pre-check of your writing samples, that's something that I'll be able to help you with, is to making sure that the students are writing at their full potential. One thing, again, time is of the essence, but one thing that you could do is pull their writing sample from last year and show them this is how you were doing last year and how much better you are now, and encouraging them and to know that they have gotten better. And a lot of times when I pull out their writing from last year, they'll start laughing at their own mistakes, that they didn't know how to spell this one word last year, but now they do. And so it's always interesting to see their reactions there. And then the next part is verifying the writing collections. This is what is going to be on the verification checklist. So it's just something that you will go through and initial each of those boxes that each student has the 5 writing samples, 1 passed, 2 from math or science or social studies, that all of them have the student's name and date. And those dates cannot be before February 11th, and of course no teacher corrections. So this is just some really important parts. The other parts that I would also recommend looking at when you get ready to rate your students, down here on page 25, you really need a copy of those PLDs, which is why I put, for every teacher in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I put one writing rubric in the green folder for every EL kid, so that when you're looking at their writing collection, you can have that rubric, you can be highlighting the different areas. Well, I noticed this characteristic from intermediate, but these 2 or 3 characteristics from advanced. Okay, so the majority of the writing characteristics from the entire collection, you may see more highlighting in one area and not the other, and that's kind of another way that you can make a good solid decision about where to put them on the rubric. Um, Remember that the TELPAS writing samples are confidential and to lock up your folders. We don't want to leave them out anywhere. And please just let me know if you have any other questions or if you need any more tips for your ELs during TELPAS season. I'm happy to help. Thank you so much for watching this video.